All right, here's a quick little theory video, and we're just going to simply use Amazing Grace to look at double stops. Amazing Grace starts in G. It goes into C, how sweet. Back to G, the sound that saved a wretch. To D, like me. I once was G, was lost, but D, C. Back to G, E minor. 'Twas blind, but D, now I see. If we applied those chord changes to what we know about the Nashville number system, in the key of G, G becomes number one. So G is 1, A, B. C is 4, D is 5, and then E minor is 6 minor. And so we always denote that with Roman numerals. 1 being uppercase because it's major, G is major. So we have a 1 for G. 4, uppercase 4 for C, major. 5, uppercase V, the 5 symbol in Roman numeral, uppercase, because the D is major. Now E minor, it's using lowercase, so the VI, which means 6, in lowercase means 6 minor. Sometimes they use uppercase 6 and they'll just write a little M beside it, and that also means 6 minor when you put the little M. But you see this a lot where they'll use the lowercase, and it's meaning, you should know that means a minor chord. Look at the very bottom right, and you see it has C, G, and D written vertically. G is the one is the main key you're in. It's in the middle, and it has C above it and D below it. And if you look at the Roman numerals, G is 1, and when you come up, it's a 4. When you go down, it's a 5. And then in parentheses beside the G, it has that lowercase 6 minor. And it says E minor in parentheses. What this is saying, say I hit these two strings, like the D and the A string. That's on the 2 middle strings. If that were my 1 chord, to get to my 4 chord, I can come up a set of strings. And then back to my 1 chord, back to the 2 middle strings. Now I can go down to the 5 chord. And the mandolin is unique in that way. Whatever chord you get, if you move it up a set of strings, it's going up a 4th. Then you come back to the middle, that's your root, and you go down a 5th. And then that's 1, 4, 5. For 6 minor, it typically changes one of those notes on the 1 chord. Like I would have to add 2 frets to the 2nd string to make it a 6 minor right there. So it's not moving to a different pair of strings like 4 and 5 do in relation to 1. It actually just takes the 1 chord and it adds. Sometimes it tweaks it, sometimes it's the same position. Let's see if we can actually put all that theory into the real world situation of Amazing Grace. All right, Amazing Grace, I want to do my double stops today on the 2 middle strings. If you notice, the first line of the tablature, it says O2 under G, has a 1. If I take this same O2 up to the 2 big strings, or you know what, let me do it like it's written on the paper. Look at the second line. It's actually going down to the 2 little strings. So that O2 moved down a pair of strings, and that's going into the 5 chord, or the D chord. So let's go from the G straight down to the D. The G down to the D. The G is on the 3rd and 2nd string, O2, and then the D is on the 1st and 2nd string. O2. And then if I came up to the two big strings and played O2, that would be a C. That's a 4 chord. C chord. So G, up to a C, back down to a G, and then down to a D, then back up to a G. And I'm just taking the same chord and I'm moving it up and down different pairs of strings. So I have O2 for G, O2 for C, O2 for G, O2 for D. And then at the very bottom, it shows you how to turn the O2 into an E minor. In this case, O2 turns into 2-2. So that's the slight change from a G to an E minor. I didn't change strings like we did to get to C or down to D. I stayed where G is at O2, but I just tweaked it, changed it to where now it's 2-2. That gives me my E minor. So let's try to do these O2s, 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 and the E minor 2-2. Let's try that with Amazing Grace. So it starts in G, that's on the two middle strings, O2. Amazing Grace. Now C, I'll come up to the fourth and third string. How sweet. Back to G, back down to the two middle strings. Let's save the rich. Now D, I come down to the two little strings. Like me. G, I once was lost. C, but now. G, I'm found. Now E minor, I have to change it to a 2-2. Was blind, but D, now. Back to G, I see. All right, so that was using the first one on each row. The O2 for G, the O2 for D, the O2 for C, and then the E minor. Now I've also included other positions like 5-2. Instead of O2, G. Look right beside G. On the right beside it, it says G, but it's now 5-2. Then we have another G that's 9-5. Let's hold off on that one. Let's try the one that says 5 and 2. So it'll go to C next, come up to the fourth and third string, 5-2. Go right back down to the two middle strings for G. Go down this way for D. And then the E minor, it doesn't change. It's still going to stay at 5 and 2. So sometimes it changes when we go to E minor. Sometimes, like in this case, it doesn't change at all. It stays. It's just like G. Amazing grace, come up, how sweet. Come back down, sound. Let's save the rich. Now go down to D, like me. G, I once was lost. C, but now. G, I'm found. Same position for E minor to the line. D, but now I see. All right, let's see if we can apply this and do the last set, 9 and 5. Amazing grace. Come up to the two big strings, how sweet. Back down the sound. Let's save the rich. Down to the little strings like me. Back up, I once was lost. Up here to my now. Back down, found. Now E minor, instead of 9 and 5, it becomes 9 and 7. I'm just going to take my middle finger and put it on the second string, 7. Then D, and right back to G. Now, so that's 3 different sets. You know, we did G, C, and D like that. Then we did like this, and then way up here, and then the minors too. And then, you know, over time, as you get good at doing this, you can start mixing them together. Like you don't always have to do O2. You can switch out to 5-2 at any time, and then 9-5 at any time. But it's always working vertically. root's in the one chord, the root is in the middle, up to a C, back to the G, and down to a D. And in other keys, it would, as long as you find the chord in the two middle strings, it should work the same. Say you had to play a song in the key of B. There's my 1, 4, 5 chord in the key of B, or here's B. That's pretty neat little theory thing going on there, but you have to put the one chord on the two middle strings to make this work, so that you can come up and go down. No matter what key you're in, it's got to start with the one chord on the two middle strings.